Today, I'm bringing you a controversial player that I believe you should be selling high in Dynasty football right now before it's too late. Controversial, in my personal opinion. I think a lot of people may not like what I have to say and who I am bringing today. Comment down below, pause the video, let me know who you think that player is. I'll give you a hint. It's the running back position. Okay, and as always, go to flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. You get our articles, our rankings, our bonus content, and so much more. The site is getting better and better. You have our redraft rankings on the site now, best ball, dynasty, and so much more. Once again, flogfantasy.com/land, the best place to support what Zach and I are doing here. And let's get straight into the video. Okay, so let's really get into a deep dive into a conversation. I truly do want to have a conversation with each and every one of you guys. So comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about my take. And once again, let's have a conversation. So the player that I am bringing today that I truly believe you should be selling high coming into the 2023 season, that is Jonathan Taylor, currently RB3 in the community. Look, we all know JT. We all know how he has done, how successful he has been, but there's a couple concerns that I have with Jonathan Taylor coming into this year specifically, and honestly, the years to come with, let's really address the elephant in the room, Anthony Richardson. The Indianapolis Colts did draft a quarterback, probably one of the most mobile quarterbacks coming out of this draft, in Anthony Richardson, and we've seen the talent. We saw him break records at the NFL Combine. Now, there's still a lot of things he needs to develop. There's still a lot of things that he's going to be working on this year. In my personal opinion, he is going to be the starting quarterback coming into week 1. Now, I worried about Jonathan Taylor's upside. Now, before I kind of get into that, let me remind you about JT, because JT has had a phenomenal career. JT has done really great things. You know, his rookie season finishes the RB6. That was with Phillip Rivers. Remember that. 232 attempts on the ground, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. 2021, clearly the RB1 finish. Just to keep a little note, this was the lowest RB finish that we've seen in the past couple years, with 21.9 fantasy points per game. Normally, that ceiling is a little bit higher with RB finishes, obviously with CMC and, you know, Alvin Kamara, all these pass catching guys. You know, JT purely got his work on the ground with over 330 attempts in that RB1 year. In 2022, this past year, he finished as an RB34, but he did miss about 5 games with an ankle and head injury coming into this past season. He was very up and down. That was with clearly Matt Ryan, and before in the year 2021, that was with Carson Wentz. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. And look, JT coming into the season, people were saying, well, he can finish Matt Ryan, a better quarterback. He's easily going to finish as the RB1. What was that going to look like? I mean, I agreed. You know, like, we saw that finish coming in. We saw him getting more opportunities in the air as well coming into this past year. That obviously didn't happen with the injury. Week 1 finished RB2, and then he was up and down the injuries. And then weeks 10 to 13, RB1, RB12, RB9, RB18. He was still producing at a high level, Jonathan Taylor. But then clearly he gets injured. The Colts draft a quarterback. And now that's where I really want to get into. I'm concerned about Anthony Richardson and if that truly is going to be limiting Jonathan Taylor's upside. And remember how I said, remember Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. One of the things that are completely different to the quarterbacks that Jonathan Taylor has played with, all those quarterbacks aren't mobile. Phillip Rivers, at the end of his prime, pocket passer. Carson Wentz, at the end of his prime, was mobile at a time, a pocket passer. Matt Ryan, past his prime, a pocket passer. Now you insert Anthony Richardson, who once again broke records at the Combine, who what we know to be a dual threat quarterback with his arm, amazing arm and legs. People are comparing him to Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, you know, Josh Allen. I'm just saying, I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it in the community. He's a Josh Allen type S. He's a project player going in the top 4. You draft him this high because of his upside. And that's kind of what we are seeing these NFL teams doing with now someone like an Anthony Richardson. So once again, going into the conversation, I truly am a little bit worried about Jonathan Taylor's upside with Anthony Richardson, because we've seen the RB1, the RB6 finish with the pocket passer. Does that get higher with a pocket passer or with a mobile quarterback? Someone that can take away opportunities at the goal line, someone that's going to be taking touches away from him because we're going to be creating more RPO plays for Anthony Richardson, more quarterback runs like a Josh Allen. And we think of these quarterbacks that are mobile, and we don't necessarily love their quarterback. We don't necessarily love their running backs. You know, we draft J.K. Dobbins in Lamar's prime, you know, not hypothetically, but in the third round in a dynasty startup. You think of Josh Allen, of Devin Singletary. You know, when Josh Allen kind of came to his own, we were drafting him a little bit later. I understand, completely different prospects, completely different scenarios, but that's really all we can truly compare it to. Excuse me. So when I think of this offense and when I think of Anthony Richardson, I think of him limiting Jonathan Taylor's upside. And what does that upside look like? I don't know if he has the RB1 upside with Anthony Richardson. And now you're probably also saying Anthony Richardson is even going to play week 1. I am a person that believes that Anthony Richardson is going to be playing coming into week 1 because they need to see what they have, and they're not going to make a mistake like the 49ers have done with Trey Lance. Now let's go to the head coach, Shane Steichen, coming in from the Philadelphia Eagles, and we saw the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, leading the past couple years, being a top 10 offense, top 5 offense, especially in the run game. You know, the past 2 years has led the league in rushing attempts per game amongst the NFL, and that might be the same here, but completely different quarterbacks. Not saying Jalen Hurts is not a mobile quarterback, but I'm saying completely different scenarios. Probably say is the best word for that. Better offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, according to PFF, they're ranked first coming into the 2023 season. The Indianapolis Colts still a top 10 offense, but they might lean on creating more RPO plays for Anthony Richardson. And if we really are comparing situations, Shane Steichen on how they utilize the running back, Miles Sanders only finished as the RB15 this past year. When you look at his opportunities, 259 attempts, right? Didn't get much work in the air. Is JT going to be limited to work in the air as well coming into 2023 or in the next couple years? Because we don't like running backs in Philly, because we don't like DeAndre Swift, and we're worried about him because, well, is he really going to get the ball out of the air? Well, that's kind of Shane Steichen's, right? We think of those things. We think of him, we think of him calling up a play or designing a play, probably not for the running back specifically in the air. So look, once again, I'm a bit worried about that. So I'm worried about Jonathan Taylor's upside. I'm worried about his passing opportunity coming into this year, and goal line work, specifically goal line work with Anthony Richardson, who is clearly a big body, stronger guy that can punch it in the short yardage and can run the RPOs, can run whatever design plays that they're going to be bringing for JT coming into the 2023 season. So look, I think that can really leak into going into 2024. Remind you, JT is on his last year of his rookie contract. Maybe he gets a 5th-year option. Maybe he tests the market. Maybe he gets franchise tagged. Whatever the case may be, I'm a little bit worried. Now, one of the best things about Jonathan Taylor is that the community still values him as the RB3. Okay, RB3 and right behind Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson. But one of my favorite things now is that you can trade him away. If you're worried about Jonathan Taylor and have the concerns that I have about JT, you can get an early 24 first for him right now. You can send JT away for a Chris Olave, a Devonta Smith. Maybe you can get a Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? What if you trade Jonathan Taylor, coins keep, trade cut? You can send Jonathan Taylor for Anthony Richardson right now. That's a fair trade according to keep, trade cut. Now, do you want to do that? I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know if anyone wants to do that if you're trying to trade away Anthony Richardson. If you're in a win now perspective, do you go out and get CMC? What about a Jahmyr Gibbs, right? I think of these players. I think of Breece Hall. Breece Hall, yeah, he has the ACL tear, but we know Aaron Rodgers, hypothetically, he's there for the next 2 years. He's going to be getting the work on the ground. We've seen the history with Aaron Rodgers in the running back room. We've seen Aaron Jones get the work in the air and on the ground. There's no one behind Breece Hall to really take the opportunities away from him after his ACL tear, now that's a whole different conversation. But the longevity with Breece Hall, I am a lot more comfortable than someone like a Jonathan Taylor. And that's crazy to say because Breece Hall has torn his ACL, right? So once again, a couple names you can think of, couple scenarios we can have a conversation about. I really want to hear your thoughts about JT. And it's in a redraft perspective, just a really quick input. In a redraft perspective, he is my RB9, and I think he could be dropping even more as I am bringing this take and looking more into research and doing more just history at a mobile quarterback position. I'm a little bit more skeptical on JT in redraft, and I'm not drafting him in the top 2 rounds right now. Right now, he's at like my 212, 211. So I guess I am technically drafting him, but I'm on the edge with JT in a redraft perspective. So once again, comment down below. Let me know what you think, and let's have a conversation. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.